I can't believe I'm doing this, but I'm doing this. I hope this is a helpful tutorial for you. This is a DIY hair trim tutorial. I want to really emphasize that we're taking off as little hair as possible. It's been weeks likely since you've been able to get to the salon, and I understand that hair can get to a point where you just need a trim. Even if you're not taking a couple inches off, just a trim will help it style right. You'll feel fresh. So that's what we're gonna be doing today. In case you're new around here, I have a background in doing hair. I'm a licensed professional. I have been doing the Small Things blog now for the past several years and am focused fully on that. So I'm no longer working behind the chair. Also, I think it's important to note that I've been cutting my own hair for a long time and also coloring my own hair. Both of those things are things I would recommend to have a professional do. Since I am a professional, I feel comfortable doing it for myself. And usually my husband helps cut the back of my hair, but I wanted to make this tutorial with those of you in mind who may not have someone living with you right now that can help you with the back, and the back is tough. Anyway, so a few things I want you to keep in mind are: 1, we're taking off as little hair as possible. 2, the majority of your hair cuts, like cutting of the hair, needs to be at an angle. You're gonna kind of point cut into the section. I'll demonstrate that shortly. And 3, however you're holding the hair out from your head, down from your head, out, up, you want your fingers that are holding that section to run parallel to the parting. So if I've parted my hair here, I'm gonna pull the hair out and my fingers are going to be parallel to that parting. If I pull this side section out and I hold my fingers down here, I'm gonna get a huge amount of over direction and the cut's not really gonna match up. So stretch, because we're gonna be doing a lot of big arm movements here to make sure we can hold our hair out evenly from our head. If you're going straight up, you're going straight up. And yeah, good sharp scissors are gonna be your friend here, and then you may also need trimmers if you have to do what I have to do. If you have someone living with you that you feel comfortable handing over either the trimmers or scissors to, get them ready to help you with the back bottom of your hair. I think you could probably do the front okay, but just have them on call when you get to that point. Okay, are you ready? Good luck. Don't take too much off. Salons will open again. This is just a dusting, if you will. We're just, any of those ends that are kind of going crazy, let's just cut those off, but nothing beyond that. So let's jump right into it. It is really important to be cutting on dry hair. If you cut wet hair, your hair when it dries is gonna shrink up a little bit, and you may not realize until after you've cut it that you've cut more off than you actually intended. So the easiest way to ensure you're only taking off a tiny, tiny bit, because really this is just a trim, sort of a reshaping if you can think of it that way, cut your hair dry. If your hair's wavy, let it be wavy. If your hair's straight, blow it dry straight, or just let it air dry straight. Whatever your natural texture is, go with that. You're gonna need duckbill clips. You're gonna need a jaw clip or 2 or 3 if you have really thick hair. You'll need a comb, shears, maybe a flat iron if you need to smooth out an area so you can see exactly how the hair is gonna fall, and a brush perhaps. And then if you can wear a solid t-shirt, that's gonna help you see where you're cutting. If you have hair that is long that you can kind of pull it around to the front and trim the ends, great. If you have hair that's sort of mid-length like me, you may need some clippers or trimmers. And I'll show you what I'll do with these soon. Sectioning is very, very important. Clip away any hair you're not gonna be cutting. Use straight, clean partings. Don't just kind of gather it all up and put it in a clip. Pay attention to how you're parting. And ideally, you wanna divide your hair into about 4 quadrants. So 2 sections from the ears forward, clipped off separately, and then 2 sections behind the ears. And I would recommend cutting with your part where you wear your hair when you've styled it. Don't just do a center part. Part your hair where you would wear it normally so you know you're not gonna take too much off on the layering.
We're gonna start with establishing the bottom base length. I'm sectioning my hair off from about my ears and clipping the rest of it up. I'll comb the hair straight down, and then I'm gonna grab trimmers and use trimmers to establish that length because I'm not gonna be able to open and close the shears with my arm all the way around my back. This is not easy. It would be easier to have someone just hold that section of hair in place with the comb and cut straight across as best they can. But I wanted to show you how I do it in case you are totally alone cutting that bottom base length. It would help if your back was toward your mirror and you were holding a hand mirror so you could really see well where the trimmers were. And it's counterintuitive to kind of push the trimmers towards your back, but that is what you need to do to cut the ends off of the hair. Next up, I will let down a section right on top of the section I've just cut, a thin enough section that will allow me to see the base length I've just established. So make sure your shirt is straight, comb straight down, and you should be able to still see that bottom length of hair, and there's just a little bit of hair on top of it. And all you're doing at this point is measuring the new layer of hair right against that base length so it's all a straight cut. When you come around to the front, you're going to have a corner that you'll need to cut off. I usually like to slightly angle my hair towards my face anyway in terms of how the length is cut. So I'm combing straight down and you can see it comes to a point. I'm just trimming that a little bit, but you can see I'm cutting it on an angle intentionally. You can always take more off, but the point here is to try and match up with the base length you've established in the back and take off just enough to match it up. The other point of leaving it on an angle is since you're pulling hair from the back of your head to the front, you're losing a little bit of natural length since you're over directing it from where it grows out from your head. So leaving that front section a little bit longer will ensure you're not going to have kind of a reverse V haircut. And now I've let down the other section from the clip. You can see the point very clearly here, and I'm just going to cut off the point so the length in the back matches up with the length in the front. I spend a lot of time combing the same section over and over again, and I'm pressing the wide tooth part of the comb against my scalp so I can ensure everything is falling straight down. You can see the way I'm holding the hair is parallel to my parting. And when I'm pulling the hair out in a little bit, you'll see that my fingers are parallel to the parting there as well. Right now, I'm just cutting those front corner pieces off so I've got a straight length on both sides. This part is optional, of course. I like a face frame on myself. I'm using the comb to hold the hair flat and just point cutting with the shears into the hair. It doesn't look like I'm taking off a lot, and truly I'm not. My face frame goes a little shorter on this side because I kind of have a softer swoop where bangs would be. But at this point, I'm just point cutting in, combing, seeing if there's any extra long hairs, and just kind of softening the hair from the base length all the way up to roughly my chin area. It's time to move on to layering. I am sectioning off my hair at the crown, so imagine you were wearing a crown like a king or a queen. Section that off, it's kind of a circular parting, and then grab your comb and shears. I'm going to do my best here to grab a section at the very center back of my head. I'm going to comb it a few times to make sure it's all even in my hand, and as far as I can reach, I'm going to go straight back with this section. Since my arms are strained, I'm going to pull it a little closer to me, but still leave my fingers in the same place they were in when I established this section. And then as I move on, I'm grabbing a little bit of hair from that first layer cut so I can see the base length I need to try and accomplish on these new sections. So I'm pulling hair that has already been cut into a layer, pulling it out from my head, and then bringing my hair closer so I can see and just matching up any of the new layers with the new length. This part is easier if you have shorter hair, but I want you to pay attention and make sure when you're pulling the hair out, you're trying to stay 90 degrees from where your parting was and not pulling it too far forward or too far back. You'll cut off more hair than you intend to if you pull it too far away. So as best you can, pull it straight out from where it grows from your head so you know exactly what length it'll be at when you drop it back down. I've turned around, I let down the crown parting of hair, so I'm working on the top layering. I have a little bit of that length from the layers I just cut at the bottom part of this section. I'm holding it straight out as best I can, and then I will cut the length to match up with the bottom hair, since that was the layer that was just cut. As I work my way around the back part of my skull here in a circular pattern, I'm using that base length as my guide and just trimming any hair that's longer than the base length to match up with that length. I know you're seeing me do some straight cuts here. My hair was really out of shape. It is advised to do a point cut at this point so you don't have choppy layers left. Think of cutting little triangles into the ends of your hair, or just honestly directing the tips of the shears straight into the section. It'll be a softer finish. It won't be blunt and chunky looking. And since, again, this is just a little trim, you don't want to take off a ton of hair. And if you're cutting straight against the tops of your fingers, you're going to have noticeable cuts and ledges in your hair. So all I'm doing here is working towards the front of my head, using the base length from the previously cut layers as my guide, so I know what hair to take off and how to match it up. And smaller sections are easier to work with. You know, in beauty school, they said you should be able to read a newspaper through your sections. So the smaller section you take, the easier it will be to see exactly what you're doing. If you're taking really heavy sections, not only are you going to potentially have a noticeable ledge cut into your hair, but you're pulling the hair from the edges of the parting too far, and so it's not gonna look like a straight, even haircut. Once you're finished, comb everything straight down in front, make sure it's even at the very least in the front where you will see it, and check out your work.
You did it. I hope you are feeling good and positive and that you had success with this haircut on yourself. Again, highly recommend this being done by a professional, but we're in trying times right here and I'm trying to help y'all out. So as few haircuts as possible right now until you can get back into the salon is best, and maybe this will make you appreciate your stylist a little bit more. It looks pretty simple and straightforward, but there's a lot of variables that play into how to give yourself a really good haircut. So I hope this was helpful. If you haven't seen on IGTV as well, I've shared a men's simple haircut tutorial and a little boy's haircut tutorial too. If you're into beauty videos, makeup tutorials, hair tutorials, not hair cutting, but like hairstyling, you would love my YouTube channel. So I'll put a link to that in my bio on Instagram, and also follow along on Instagram too. I share a lot of beauty related content on stories in my feed and then on my website, thesmallthingsblog.com.